Hey guys, welcome. Of course, you guys are all film bar people, so we got actually a few new faces, and which is surprising because we always have new faces somehow, and it works out, and I love it. So if you don't know me, please come talk to me. I'm Rhodes, and this is one of a series we're doing, the first Mondays. I guess you guys know already, we're trying to do just basic introductory courses, so if you have questions, make sure you have those ready. But we're going to be talking about camera tonight, and we have our three panelists here. Have we had three before? Yes, the first time we had three. But, so this is good. This is a good turnout. You guys can go ahead and introduce yourselves real quick.
Okay. My name's Corey Messer. I work at Cargo. It's an agency in town. I'm their internal guy. Do a lot of freelance stuff. Got a background in film production. Started at Full Sail University. And worked on a bunch of TV shows, and agency world is kind of what I'm in now. So a lot of commercials and stuff like that. Good.
Let's just make this way less awkward.
Yeah.
My name is Justin Nix, and I am a freelance director of photography in town. I also gaff a ton with my friend Monica and my friend Chris and Will. Hi, guys. They're back there for any moral support I need. I started with weddings, like just probably a lot of people did. This is in 2014. That's a long time ago. And started with weddings, just was an annoying kid with a camera, and I started to realize that I needed to, shoot and make some money. And funny enough, this guy, I took his old job, actually. I was like, dude, I'm not good enough to do this job or whatever. And he's like, no, I promise you, trust me, you're fine. And I did learn I was fine for that job. So thank you, Corey, for my first big boy job. But since then, since that job, I've had, been in production companies, multiple agencies, and now I'm just freelance.
Cool. I'm Monica. I am a camera operator, director of photography sometimes, and then also a first AC on a lot of different sets. I work freelance. I know these guys because I work with Justin on a lot of projects, and I've worked with Corey on a couple of projects too. And so, it's a lot of fun. Yay, camera department.
Yeah.
That was not intentional to get them to all know each other, but it just worked out.
It kind of works out that way in this
Yeah.
community. We
Yeah.
all kind of know
You
each
need
other.
to.
Yeah.
It's pretty small.
Yeah.
But that's something, I guess one of the points I would like to make is if you are going to be in camera, it's really about who you know, right? Would you guys agree? It's not about looking for a listing saying, hey, we're looking for a camera operator, because you're not going to find that.
No, 9 times out of 10, we're going to call on people we know.
You guys are already in if something's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, we just, you build a level of trust with people that you work with and stuff. So
It's
that's
kind
usually
of a
where we go.
risk. Yeah, it's a risk if you have to, sometimes, unless you have heard about them through other people, it's going to be a risk if you have to work with someone you haven't before.
I actually have a really kind of hard lesson I had to learn. Let me pass this on to you guys. For the longest time, I expected my Instagram and my pretty face and my good talents to get me work, and that's just not the case. I thought that just because I knew how to do the thing, that I would automatically be paid, nonstop for it, and that was very silly. I had to learn that you can't just hit your friends up when you're poor and you need to pay your bills. You can't just hit your friends up and say, hey, you got any projects? What you really need to do is say, hey, buddy, you want to get coffee soon? Because relationships build clients and stuff. And as soon as you do that, as soon as you start doing that, you don't really have to worry about that awkward text. I'm in a really slow season right now, actually. And what I'm doing is reaching out to people and say, hey, do you know anybody who's crewing up right now? Not, hey, my life is on the line and all this stuff. It's just people that I've worked with in the past. Hopefully they, liked me on set enough to invite me back. And really those people that you work with in the beginning, if you're really nice, you'll stick with them and you'll be working with them for how long? 5 years? 5 years, something like that, 5, 6 something years, and it'll keep you fed. So relationships over short-term gigs is what I would say.
Yeah. We were talking just a second ago. I want to gauge how much you guys already know, because we don't want to talk about stuff you already know. You know what I mean?
Who here is camera right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So the rest of you guys are in different departments trying to learn.
I would love to know what departments, actually. Can we get a gauge?
Let's
Who's in
work
sound?
together.
I'm an actor.
Okay,
Nice.
perfect. This is great. Who's in sound? Anybody in sound?
Those are part of the money.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I'll bring you
Got a
some sound,
couple.
guys. So, who wants to be an actor or an actress? Anybody? Okay.
Or what do y'all do, or what do you want to do, I guess?
Writing?
Okay.
Yeah. You guys are some.
Be confident. You are.
Production? Yeah. Chad, raise your hand.
PA grip, a little
Sure.
bit of second AC.
Cool.
Want to learn how to act.
Awesome.
miscellaneous stuff.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Okay.
Have you guys been to the film bar at Cargo before? Any of you guys? I see some familiar faces. Okay,
March 20th, next one.
that's the next one. Okay, cool,
That's the viewing party.
sweet,
Fun.
awesome.
Sweet.
Well,
For what?
Well,
We do film challenge. So
Oh.
the current one right now is animation. I think we've got at least 5 people that did an animation, or stop motion animation puppetry. And so we'll show those plus some other films and stuff like that. Just kind of hang out.
yeah, it's a awesome thing that Rhodes has started with the film bar stuff. Obviously, y'all are here too, but it has helped us out. When I say us, I mean the agency at Cargo. Like we've met so many people and like made so many connections, and things are happening just that I never thought were possible. A lot of cool things that are up and coming, just because of film bar.
Don't point at me.
Yeah, you started it. Yeah, so that's awesome. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's also just before you go into that, like that is a community, you know? Like what you really want to do is you want to try to be the person that understands and finds out I don't need to be the only one that gets the jobs. Like, you know, myself, Monica, we've all had to wear many, many, many awkward hats. Sometimes they don't fit, and sometimes they have to fit so you can pay your bills. It's important to just know that, like, if you're the only, like, if you're trying to be the one-man band type of thing, it's not really going to work out too well because you need a community around you. Like, good film and good, you know, spots, they come from a whole, you know, range of people willing to lend their hands. So the best that you can do is like, hey, I know you got that gig over there. That's awesome. Be your best friend's cheerleader. How can I grip for you? How can I, you know, you need an AC? You need something? You know, like, let me be just a part of your team for you. That's what I would say.
So I've got some questions, but you guys you are itching to know? No? Okay, I'll go ahead and start asking you guys some questions. So
Okay.
first one, what are some of the roles you'd find in the camera department?
Man, I guess DP is probably like the top tier if you don't know what that acronym is for. It's the director of photography, cinematographer. You're responsible for everything that goes through that lens, the lighting, even the set and stuff. Like, but then it tiers down from there. You've got camera operators, gaffers, electrics kind of fall into there, and grips, stuff like that. ACs, so assistant cameras, first ACs, second ACs. You know, that's like a huge crew. You know, I can count on, you know, both hands how many times I've had that many people. Usually it's like 2 or 3 and we wear all the hats, you know. Am I missing some stuff?
I've been on crews where it's literally camera department is just probably about 5. The maximum that it could get is probably about 5 guys. You've got your DP.
Or girls.
Yes, that's very important. Very important. Very important. Very important. Very important. They're gonna roast me in the chat later. God, they're gonna roast me in the chat. No, that's very important. Operators. So you have your DP. You have under that you have an operator usually if the DP doesn't want to operate or chooses not to. And then you would have your ACs. Like you said, first, second ACs. And I did not know this was a position until I had one in one of my departments, camera PA. There are PAs that want to specialize in camera and they want to fast track. Like, yes, I want to PA, I want to be on the set, but I kind of have an idea of where I want to go. Camera PA. Think about that as well. And any I'm missing. I could be missing something.
Would
Yeah.
DIT I guess it's kind of a mix.
It's a little bit of a hybrid role,
Yeah.
more of a post thing.
Yeah.
And there can be like a card like loader, like someone who's
Yeah,
running
or-
cards back and forth too. But
Yeah. Depends on how big the set is, how granular you want to get. Does everybody know what DIT stands for? Yes? Okay, I don't want to over-explain it if it does. Okay, DIT, Digital Imaging Technician. I get bonus points for remembering that. Basically, it's just the person that takes the footage and makes sure that it is their job, their responsibility to bring it to whoever's offloading the media, making sure it's backed up once, twice, 3 times, and also logging the systems too. Like, you want to make sure you're keeping a good idea of what you got that day, what you needed to get that day, and just an idea of like how to wrangle all that data. You know, just tons and tons of terabytes of data. That
Maybe dailies.
Yes, exactly. Getting dailies and rushes back to clients, people that want to see them really fast because it's really time sensitive and stuff. That person would be in charge of that as well. And they do a little bit of coloring as well, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Typically that can be the same person on the set. DIT will sit in a van, a really dark van, on set sometimes, and just be coloring the actual project as it comes in. Yeah.
Can you explain first and second AC as well a little bit more?
yeah, so first AC, again, depending on the crew size, sometimes you're just an AC, or they'll call you first AC, but there's not a second. But you are in charge of essentially building the camera. Your biggest job is to make sure everything's in focus. You're the one pulling focus usually, unless for some reason the operator wants to themselves. I've been on a set where that's been the case. They just feel better about it, or they have something specific they want to do and they just would rather have their hands on it. But typically you're the one pulling focus. So you'll have like your monitor, your setup, and then whatever you're using to your follow focus. And then the second AC is usually going to be assisting the first AC. And so they'll be the one who is usually running the slate. They're going to be helping with like lens changes, keeping an eye on battery, just essentially it's kind of like working downwards, but you're just helping the next person up. All the way to the camera operator / the director of photography, who is sometimes the same person. Did I miss anything?
I think so. I mean,
Sorry, building out camera.
Yeah, building camera. Also, it's like you are in charge of moving the camera for the director of photography. So if they are,
And give the breaks.
yeah, and giving breaks, because they're carrying the camera all day, and so they're going to be expected to be able to just pass you the camera whenever the shot is done. So you are just like, I've been on sets where I'm just walking around like this, like ready. So if they drop it, I'm gonna catch it because it's on me if I'm the AC. Usually people are nice, so they're not gonna like throw it at you, but that is typically a big part of your job, is just making sure that you're helping them however they need and kind of anticipating their needs as you're going through the day as well.
I think like you said earlier, I've only had this happen like maybe once or twice. And I was very inquisitive of while it was happening. Is one gig I was on, I had like 5 people in camera department, and I didn't know about camera PA guy, but you think like, man, I've gotten to this spot where I've gotten all this crew, and like there's so many people doing the thing that it usually takes one person to do, and you would think like, man, is this really like overkill? I kind of asked myself that day. It's really fortunate to have that many on your crew, but you think like, do we really need all this? Well, I will say I've had one of the biggest benefits of that, because I was able to kind of focus on what I was supposed to be doing. You know, a lot of time in the film industry, you're doing so many hats that you don't really get to be like creative. Guess what? That's what you're supposed to be doing, you know, if you're a camera guy. So it was nice to be able to take my mind completely off of, do I need to charge the batteries? Do I need to swap out for the 3rd red mag? Do I need to tell the blah, blah, blah? You know, I just had I had so much bandwidth to give to the shoot. And that's why great projects have more people, if that makes sense. That doesn't happen often, but when it happens, you gotta cherish it.
yeah.
Any questions about those roles and stuff? Any comments? What's the difference between a DP and a director?
You do that one.
Me? Okay. Director, I think, has 30,000 foot view vision. You know, they have decided that they want to be the person that really kind of sees this thing from start to finish, A to Z. And they don't need to be like focused so much on the technical stuff. Director would be like, I need to be in control of the department heads, but each department should have a department head. You know, that's what these things are for. You should have a head sound, head DP, head, lighting technician, that would be the gaffer. And director doesn't really need to speak to anybody but just those key people. Director of photography, that person would take the director's vision. However, you know, they want to explain this commercial, you know, advertising piece, whatever it may be. They say, I want it to feel happy. Well, it's my job as a DP to have conversations with that director and say, well, what do you mean by happy? Like, I think this is happy. Is this happy to you? And that's just like less lighting or more lighting, or like wider lenses or, you know, longer lenses. Like handheld makes people feel shaky. Okay, that's a little jarring. So it's like, you know, what do we want to say with what you want to say? Because what you tell me is what I'm going to shoot with. I'm going to express your vision, and that's the director of photography's role. Did I miss anything?
No, I think
Well, I can tell you from an agency side, it was interesting because I've seen just like directors just shoot stuff, and I personally got to direct a big the Windows thing that
I was
we
gonna
worked
say, I've seen you
on, and then I had a DP who was a good buddy of mine, and he was able to just focus just on the lighting and the creative, you know, look of it. Because I would go into a situation like, Jake, here's what we're gonna do. Let's make this look good. Tell me what you think. And then I'd look at it and be like, yes, that's awesome. Actually, also, can we just tweak that one little thing? And be like, yeah, man, sure, we do that. But then my job as the director was to also interact with the clients from an agency side. So I would go over to the Video Village and they would like say their comments, and I'd just be like, that's terrible.
What's Video,
It's awful.
what's Video Village?
Video Village is the place where everybody's watching the monitors for our clients. We would just set up like a big monitor so 3 or 4 of them can look at it and basically tell us how to do our jobs. But you know, I'd get their feedback and then I'd like try to tweak it in a way that like made sense for everything. Or if it didn't make sense, I would explain it to them why, stuff like that. But then I was just trying to herd cats and make sure everybody knew what we were doing, or if there was a problem that arose, because all the creative stuff was already kind of figured out. I would just figure out how to work around that problem. Like if we were on a time crunch, or if we had to change the schedule around, or if for some reason the story is changing in the middle of our shooting, I'd figure out how to make that story work for whatever we're doing. That was my directing role on that one.
Oh, this is a question. So you being a DP and also directing, how much, to me as a DP, I love to plan.
Yeah.
Prep.
Yep.
But on set, when you have to switch from your DP role to director, how do you manage, okay, well, this shot's not working because we missed the time limit of the sun being right here and now it's crap. Do you freak out, or is it malleable?
No, it's malleable. Like I said, it's being able to trust the people that you work with. You know, that we would just figure it out as we go. You know, we have a plan and we prepare, and then things are going to change. It doesn't matter. It's going to change at some point, and just trusting the people you work with. That's all that really matters at that point. Making sure everybody's on the same page.
This one's for all three of you. We'll start with you. Why do you
Okay.
think people want to get into camera?
I mean, I feel like people have different reasons. Like, are you talking from different departments or just in life?
Well, there just seems to be a lot of people want to go down that path first,
yeah,
at least.
yeah.
They may find something else later, but that's kind of like where they think is the end.
Yeah. I think I would imagine, and I feel like y'all would probably be able to answer this more if you were trying to get into camera, but I think it's probably because that's the first thing you think of. Like, I think when you think of like film or commercials, you think of the camera department. I think they get the most attention and the most like, you think like camera plus person who knows how to operate it, you can make a thing. Like, it's the easiest way to create. Like, if you strictly are wanting to write, but you don't want to touch a camera and you're just getting started, then it's like you can only go so far before it's like it's never going to really see anything. But like camera, at least when you're starting, it's like you can kind of try on all these different hats, but at the end of the day, you're technically a camera operator, I think. What do y'all think?
I don't know if I could answer it better. That's pretty good.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty obvious. It's just the first thing that you see mostly. It's like, you know, we transitioned from iPhone 12s to the most bulky camera that we can afford, and the thing that makes it look the best. But
So accessibility.
Yeah.
it's huge accessibility. You know, I think at the higher level, the first thing you want to do is say, well, if I have a project, the first thing I need is a producer. Well, the first thing you need is a client. Second thing you need is a producer. Well, at the lower levels, if I want to shoot a thing, the first thing I need is camera guy. You know, so it's just accessible at that level.
And I would say, like, whenever I got in the industry, I didn't really know any of the other roles. Like, now that I've been on some bigger sets, it's like, I didn't know what a first AC was. Like, I didn't know that was an option. So I didn't go in thinking, like, I want to be a first AC. You know,
Right.
it's like, I was like, you couldn't have told me what that was. But I didn't know that a producer wasn't, like, as big of a role it was. Like, I knew what producers existed. I didn't know that they were on commercial sets and, like, all these other things. I just knew that there was someone with a camera, and I could get a cheap camera online. So, like, why don't I try that, you
Yep.
know?
I found out I was a DP late. I was like, oh, I've been lighting and moving a Dana Dolly. I guess I'm a DP and not a videographer. I had to kind of learn that distinction, which is a big distinction. But
What is your distinction for that? You mind me asking?
oh Lord.
Videographer. Filmmaker,
Okay, so it's
cinematographer.
I would say DP, director of photography, and a cinematographer are pretty much the same thing, interchangeable. Camera operator, I think, is someone who chooses to appreciate the technical side of it. You know, they appreciate the physicality of it, and they know that they have to be in shape to operate, you know, shoulder cams, bigger cameras when they're built out. There's as it gets up the chain and, you know, higher in the budgets, there's a specific person that says, I need to be up to date on the latest technology, the latest, you know, firmware of the cameras, and they really thrive in that. Well, sometimes DPs are hands-on with that. Sometimes they're like, man, have you seen this new light? That's what I'm really, like, I'm so camera agnostic, it's silly. Like, I don't care. You know, give me a potato and I'll make it look fine. It's really about the lighting to me. And I think that a potato. Yeah, I'm rambling at this point. I don't know where I was going, but
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You can have like a, 5D, like the old school 5D, or you could have, something even newer or whatever. But at the end of the day, if he lights it, it's still going to look really good, even on a older camera.
Yeah.
It's like all those shot on iPhone commercials. I think we used to laugh at those all the time because it's like shot on iPhone, but it's like what you don't see is an entire crew of people lighting it, so it looks
Yes.
good.
yeah.
This isn't Susie on her iPhone.
Right.
Yeah.
Susie slander.
Well, I think we have a
Sorry,
question.
Susie. Sorry,
You
Susie.
really got your rates. Are you rating or charging for bringing your equipment separately than your skill set?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, if you can, yes. It really just depends on the client's budget. I would just say, just ask them what their budget is. And then 9 times out of 10, they'll tell you. And if not, then you're like, yeah, my day rate's this. And usually comes with my camera or all the toys. Or you can do it separately. It just depends on the client. I've done it all different ways.
I say here, especially like mom and pop shops, like their expectation of for what a budget would be for a commercial versus a larger organization.
Yeah.
Completely.
They're
Sure.
hiring what I would call a videographer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
They,
mom and pop shops.
Yeah.
And then if you're a DP or cinematographer, you might rent gear
Yeah.
or something. So you might not bring your gear.
Yeah.
It depends. Like sometimes, like I had a gig. What was it? Sometime last year, where the client did not want to pay for a certain type of. No. I wanted crew and they wanted camera. How awkward is that? Like I want more people to help me carry the big heavy things that you want, not the best camera. Don't give me a Red when it takes 2 people to operate that thing and it takes up half my crew because of rates. Personally, I'd rather have more people. So when you're building out stuff like that in your estimates, you really kind of like sussing out what does the client want versus what do they need. They think they want all this stuff with big fancy names, but like I love the Ursa, the Blackmagic Ursa. It's my favorite camera to shoot. It's got a pretty image. Costs a third of a Red or something above that, and I can make it look fine. It's fine. It's all fine.
Everything's fine.
It's fine.
Prefer to shoot on a potato.
Yeah.
I'd like to know more about those camera PAs that you mentioned, about what they do.
I think that would lead to a larger question of how to connect to camera guys. Or camera ladies. Anybody who is in the camera department within the film industry, I feel like I'm talking a lot. I think reach out and hey, can I, based on your experience level, I'm sure you have like reels to show and stuff like that if you're in camera department, but you really just want to get on set, right? People just want to get on set. So I feel like it's knowing enough to be safe and dangerous. Like if you don't really know how to work a C-stand, maybe don't show up to a set. That's one of the biggest things. But there's a ton of information on YouTube actually that there was not when I was first coming up in this. I'm 33 now. When I was 23, there was no Aperture, YouTube. There was nothing like that. And there's so much information. If you're green, you never have to show up to a set green. You just don't anymore. It's just changed. So just find all that information out on YouTube and then find your local camera people in town. Shoot them an email, shoot them a text, anything on Instagram. Say, hey, I love your work. Be their cheerleader for a while before you just start asking them questions. Because if someone says, hey, I like that thing that you did on this thing, well then now we can have a conversation off of a specific piece of work versus you get better jobs than me and I, how do I get there? It's like I did that for so long and I got nowhere. Just relationships and like, hey, I see you have a talent. Would you mind helping me with that some way somehow?
Yeah.
And if
I
you
think
get a PA job, just come hang out with whatever crew that you feel like you want to work with. If you want to end up working with the camera crew, just go talk to them and hang out with them. And if they need an extra battery, you run and get the battery or something. And then just let them know on the next thing, hey, I can help out if you guys ever need it. I could help you AC or something. Just get their info.
More often than not, if you're PAing, especially if you're in a specific department, you're just going to be a runner for them on a lot of things. They're not going to make you or ask you to do anything that's going to be super like technical because they understand you're a PA and so you're probably newer to this unless they know that you've been on sets before. But I think it's a lot of that. It's a lot of running and getting lenses, grabbing waters for them. It's making sure that nobody runs into the camera if they like have to go like use the restroom or something. Things like that are going to be, you're just in proximity to,
Holding umbrellas.
Yes, holding umbrellas. Like truly, it could be anything. Like anything they need you to do, you're there, and it's helpful because there's a lot of really small things if you are operating or even if you're pulling focus or something that you cannot do. Like that you just can only be so many places at one time. So having someone there to just be willing to do a lot of the nitty gritty stuff, honestly. But it's nice because then you get to work in proximity with these people who like are maybe like a step or two ahead of you, and then you get to hopefully make those connections and then be on sets with them again in the future.
If you just learn how, like that, all that was amazing. Learn how to like make the person ahead of you just like the happiest person on set, and they will call you back, and you'll just move up so fast. Like I always ask any PA I ever see on a set wherever, like, what do you really want to do? Come on, what do you really want to do? And they're like, well, I think I want to like grip or something. I'm like, okay, cool. Now that I know that in you, I'm going to be looking for it in you. So if you want it, just show a little initiative, and I promise, if you don't hurt anybody, you'll get moved up the ladder real quick. Because there's not a lot of us in this town. You know, we need to stick together. There's not a lot of us.
Anybody else? What are some things that you wish you knew when you were younger? Do you want to think about it and come back?
I could answer that.
Okay.
I feel like it's okay if you don't know what you're doing right now. It's like the biggest thing. I think like imposter syndrome, the moment I learned, and this was like after I'd been in for the industry for a while, but I was like, the second I learned how many people around me also had no clue what they were doing, I was like, or they had like some clue, but like we're really just faking it till they made it in a lot of ways. I was like, oh my God, like this is so much more fun. Like it's not this like rigid, there's all these rules. It's like a lot of people like Justin, I've been working with Justin for forever. And it's like, even he could walk on any set and like decide how to light it, but he still has to like trial and error things, or he still is gonna like, no offense, mess things up sometimes. Like everyone does it. And so then it's like when you see those moments and it's like, oh my gosh, like I wish I could have just like somehow ingrained that into my brain. Like it's fine if you don't know what you're doing. Yes, you have to fake it till you make it a little bit, but also like it's okay because at some point every single person on set didn't know what they were doing. Like there's a point where everybody was faking it. And so it's like it's okay if you can find the right time to ask questions, as long as you're not like disrupting set and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That'd be mine.
Totally agree.
You can also just rent an RE, kit it out for a day, take a picture with it, put it on your Instagram.
Oh, there you go.
You don't actually have to know how to use it. You just put it
Yeah,
on
just be near
profile.
it.
Is that all you have to do? Yeah, I went the long way.
Yeah.
I will say that I thought I was missing out when I was younger, like because I wasn't in Los Angeles. I had FOMO real bad because I had friends out there from film school, and they're like doing all this stuff. And then I realized that I got out there and tried the thing, and a show actually brought me back here. And I realized that there was a lot more work here that I could do, and have a much better style or lifestyle here than I would have in Los Angeles. So just know there's a lot of work out here. Don't feel like you have to be in Los Angeles or Atlanta or something like that. There's plenty of stuff
Yeah.
going around.
There's more avenues. Like when I sound like an old man, but when I was first starting with this, it was really just weddings. I remember there wasn't really many little small marketing agencies around town as there are now, and that honestly paid my bills for a bunch of years. Like I was good enough to be freelance, whatever that means, but I just wanted some stability, and I wanted some. I just wanted to know that I was going to be okay while I still learned and stuff, and there was plenty of opportunities for me. It might be different going forward in the future. You know, I think the thing that I'm starting to see is a bunch of in-house people. You know, Corey works in-house, and I think there's a lot of good to that. But there's also a lot of like I've seen now being freelance for the past 2 years. There's a lot of like family life balance that I've been able to have. You know, being outside with my wife more and my dog. You know, not sitting at a desk all day. So there's ebbs and flows. There's times when I'm really racking my head trying to pay the bills. I like wish I was sitting at a desk right now. But then there's other times where I get to choose my schedule more. So it really is a balance of like, what kind of life do I want to have? I will say one of my friends, one of our collective friends right now, his name is Brian. He is an incredible DP in the area, and I don't know if he has a girlfriend, and he definitely doesn't have any kids, and he's young. He wanted to be like the very tippy top from when he graduated Bob Jones, I think, and he's been gunning on that ever since. Like he's shooting GE commercials now, and he's doing awesome. But he's a young guy, and he's got a lot of hunger. Something that I kind of don't think I have anymore right now. You know, I got a lot more. I don't have as much time as he has. So
He's engaged now. It's over.
oh, he's engaged now, but he'll slow down.
That's the trick. Stay single.
Yeah. But yeah.
I'm gonna answer that. If I had joined
Give me
community,
the camera.
Yeah.
if I had joined community
No,
sooner, I think that would have been better. I was in Atlanta, and so many people around me that I just did not reach out to and connect with, and the Indiegogo or the Film Bar Monday they had in Atlanta, I didn't attend those things. I didn't get to know people, and that was the biggest thing. And the only people I knew was if I paid for the class, if I went to a class, or if I just happened to get on a set, I may have made one or two connections from that. And it just was slow rolling that way. So that's partly why I started this, because I was just tired of being alone.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
needed some friends.
yeah.
Always just be willing to
But you guys are here, so you already know that.
yeah. just in this business, for some reason, people get big heads sometimes, but just always like be humble and be nice, and then we'll call you back to come work on the thing. Like do a good job also, but just like be a good person. That's huge. You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
That's all I'll
Oh,
say.
one more. This is just a personal thing. Label yourself a little bit. Like if I go to your Instagram, I want to know what city you're in and what you do exactly. I don't know if everyone does that, but that's what I'm looking for. Because I get so many people saying, "Hey, I want to join Film Bar Greenville," and they're like in Virginia. I'm like, I mean, sure, but you're probably not going to make the 2 meetings a year. So yeah, and then that also is being intentional about saying, "I want to be a camera PA. Please bring me on as a camera PA." And people know exactly where to place you and think of you. If they're saying, "Hey, I need a camera PA," I know exactly who to think of. So you can still diversify, but just kind of niche yourself a little bit. And the city thing is just for me. It's just
Like I can't decide whether I want to be a DP or a gaffer. I don't know. I like both. I don't know, and it's okay. You know, you can do 3, 4 years as something, and then change and do something else.
Well, I would say you could probably have 2 things on your list.
It's good. No. It's good to have both. But there's a path where you can take where you can say, if I do this job, I can get more consistent income. If I do this one, I can get more. You know, it's just kind of where you want to figure out. You don't really have to be anything forever. You know, just try it out. It's a big industry and it's a lot of fun. It's just a chance to be creative. You know.
I started freelancing. I was mostly producing or field producing. I wasn't like overseeing the whole project. I was usually just like on set producing. And ended up not loving it at all. And so I still like, I don't mind it. I can do it and I know like how, but the whole time I was on set, I knew I wanted to be like working in camera department. So I like had to learn how to make that pivot and that transition. And I can still take on producing jobs, which is nice to like kind of supplement income. Or it's like if like Justin's on a set and he's the only camera op and he needs like a producer, then he like knows I can do that. You know, like stuff like that is great to have. But
That leads me to the next question. Is how does the camera department interact with other departments? So you knowing producing side, how does that help you with camera side?
we fight the whole
We
time.
shun them.
I'm just kidding. No.
Or how can an actor know what the camera's seeing and stuff like that, or what the boom is listening to?
One of the best pieces of advice, or best is really dramatic. One of the first pieces of advice someone in production gave me before, because I thought I wanted to work in journalism for a long time, which is kind of funny because I think I would have hated it, but that's a different story. I ended up becoming really good friends with the film crew at this TV station I was working at. And they told me, they were like, if you want to work in journalism even, they're like, you have to like know how the camera works. You need to know like what people behind the scenes do and like what different like parts of the crew, like how they operate. And I think from a producing standpoint, I would see that so much where it was like, it would help me as a producer to know what the camera department needs. I've gripped on a couple of things before. So it's like for me to know to an extent, just enough like broadly what G&E needs. I have never acted. I should never act. I'd be a horrible actor, except for I did have a speaking line in the 4th grade. That's about it. But I have enough friends who are, not to brag, but I have enough friends who have been like screen actors before to where I can talk with them and learn from them and kind of know what their experience is like, which is going to help me as a producer. It's also going to help me if I'm working in the camera department because I can help make sure they're comfortable, make sure they can trust that I'm not going to let them like look funny if they're on camera, you know? So I think it's important that you kind of understand at least broadly what each department does and what they're bringing to the table. One, so you're not like, why is G&E taking so long to set up this light? Like, can't we just get this going? But you also like, you can why does hair and makeup have to come in for last looks until like you're in the edit and you're like, where was hair and makeup? We needed them, we should have listened. Like stuff like that happens all the time. So I think the more you can understand what they're doing and why what they're doing is important, then you can kind of function together better. And you can also trust each other. Like you can trust that like hair and makeup isn't going to come in because they want to take up 2 more minutes of your schedule as the producer trying to keep people on track. They're coming in because they're going to save you. Like they're going to save you in the edit. Like that person had something in their teeth and you were too busy, you didn't even see it, or their like face was shining, they were sweating, their hair was in their face, all sorts of things that it's like you just have to, once you start working together and learning what they do, you can trust that they are the professional, they know what they're doing, and they're going to be able to help you out just as much as you are them.
And we found our new spokesperson for these classes.
Oh gosh.
So-
Yay.
No, it's a ton of good info. Any like continue on that?
Sure, if you got anything else to add.
Yeah, it just helps. Like, if you kind of understand that you're going to be working with some of the same people for a while, like, don't you want to have friends in other departments? You know, like if you know somebody's looking for a boom op, and you're like, oh man, my buddy Adam, he's going to be great for that. It has nothing to do with me. It's not my gig. But if you just like throw your friend, you know, some like that person has kids, they have a mortgage. Like we're all here for each other, you know. Just constantly be looking like how to give your friends less things to worry about and stress about. You know, you want to be helpful to the other departments. One thing that I do that I make a point to is every time I'm on set, I go find the actress's or actor's name that I'm going to be with most of the day, and I find out their first name, and I tape it to the back of my V-mount battery so that I'm not calling,
Smart.
hey, actor, hey, actress, can you move to the left? No, it's
It's a good idea.
Claudia. Can you please lift your face towards the key light for me? Just little things like that. Be personable, be nice. Just be nice. Like what Corey said. Be nice and understand that you're probably going to see these people again.
Yeah.
You're probably going to see them again. Be nice.
If you're nice. you'll
If
see
you're
them.
nice.
Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
Forgot your name.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I got plenty more. I don't know if you guys got anything.
I got a
Yeah.
question. How do you handle when you're in your department and then the other department, like the director, is pushing you to start shooting, but you're trying to solve a problem, get ready for it? Like, how do you handle that pressure?
Sometimes it's fun.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you make really good things out of really short amount of time, and you kind of walk away from it going like, hell yeah, we pulled that off with like all that stuff. But other times, like it's just kind of about knowing like you have if you're high enough, if you're the DP, you have a conversation with the producer and the director. Be like, hey, this is what this is. This is how long it will take. I'm always of the mindset that like, hey, we can nix this if you want. We don't have to do this, but this is what you're going to lose. This is what this move is going to cost by you not allowing this to happen, or whatever that is. So just a meeting of the minds comes together, and hopefully you have a producer and a director and a DP that all are on the same page and they want to make a good thing. And they understand, we gotta lose this to get that and gain that to get this. It's a little bit of a tug of war.
A lot of that can be done in pre-production.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where you hope it's done
Yeah.
in pre-production. But as time shows its ugly head, all things happen on set, and it can be jarring. And I think a good person who's experienced is, and something I'm trying to get better at is, if there's a problem, it's not as big as you think it is.
Yeah.
No one on the set is looking at you right now like you think you are in your head, and just chill and like, okay, cool. I bet if I chill out for a second, take a deep breath, maybe grab some air, I'm gonna come back and we're gonna give this idea the best that we can do, and we're gonna have level heads. Just take a deep breath. I think you'll be all right.
I think in camera department you can, if that's just how you're wired, you're more of a visual person, and you like could truly cut and shape light all day, then you're gonna be able, at least for me, like the longer I look at a frame, like I'm gonna be able to see things that are like, oh, I wish I could just do this really quick, or I wish I could like tweak this or move this light over, like just feather it a little bit this way. But at the end of the day, it's like sometimes you do kind of have to take the L, like that's not always fun, and hopefully you have that relationship or you have it built into the schedule where you have a little bit of breathing room. But there are going to be times where it's just like, okay, the director had their eyes on it, I communicated to them what I want to do, they said we don't have 5 more minutes, I like how it looks, the client's fine with how it looks, that's okay. Like sometimes you're just like, all right, and like you said, just take a deep breath, like, okay, it's fine. The light is on their nose a little bit, but it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
They don't care, so I don't know.
No, in the grand scheme of things, it's mostly fine. You have to remember who the audience is. Have to remember who the viewer is. A lot of times when I start getting a big head and I think, oh, this is gonna be the best frame I've ever lit, I have to go, someone can't wait to skip this ad. And that just goes, chill out. You're gonna
Yeah.
clock out at 5. You're gonna see your dog. Chill. It's not that big of a deal.
What do you think of being, I feel like having directed too a lot?
Which part?
I think his question of like whenever you're in those like really tight time moments where it's like, all right, we gotta go, but it's like as a DP, there's a bunch of things you want to change. Because I feel like
'Cause
you're
you
very,
can
you're
look at a
level-headed-
monitor.
You're a
You guys-
level-headed person, so I feel like you would be a good person to answer that.
No, I mean you guys nailed it. It's sometimes you have to just like nix it, but like you said, just have a conversation with everybody on the team that needs to have that conversation, and you guys just figure it out. And most of the times, like you said, it's going to be good enough for what you guys are doing. You just don't have time to do that. Or you talk with your producers and you figure out, well, maybe we can do this at a different time. We can push this back. There's all kinds of different ways to figure it out.
I know it
It is-
happens often, but when was the last time you guys had a perfect shoot?
Never.
Okay.
That's funny.
Never.
Ah.
Somebody we work with a lot is back there going, "Wow." No, those are fun shoots, but rarely do they happen.
We have a quick question from Instagrams. They said, what do you recommend for quality cinema camera rentals for low budget film producers? Just, who do you guys rent from?
Lens rental.
Lens rental.
Yeah. I will
Or-
say that just a shameless plug. Cargo now has Arri Mini LF and a C500, the latest one for rent for will be cheaper than Lens rental, 10% cheaper, just
Yeah.
because it's local.
If you can find local people, it usually is going to be cheaper than lens rentals. But if you can't, because Greenville is kind of a smaller market, and if you don't know a ton of people yet, then that's going to be harder to do. But it's like if you, outside of that, I feel like lens rentals is the
Have
best.
you used like Spartan Photo Center or Shared Grid or anything else local like
Oh
that?
yeah, I've used Spartan Photo Center a bunch. They don't have as much of the cinema camera stuff
Right.
that I want. They do now have a C. What's the full frame?
C70.
No, the full frame R5C or whatever it's called.
Oh, yeah. The mirrorless.
You know what I'm talking about? It does photo and video.
Is it a Canon camera?
It's
I
a
know what you're
Canon.
talking about. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's the cinema line.
It's a newer one,
But it's
yeah.
it's an R5 full frame. It'll do photo on one side, like flip the thing and you go to video, and then it's basically like a mini C70 but full frame.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Spartan Photo has that now.
Yeah. Cool. And then Greenville Film
Greenville
Rentals.
Film. I don't think have any camera
Lights.
equipment yet. They have a lot of lighting options.
Doug Smith has cameras.
Doug,
Yes.
Yeah. And a lot of lens
Yeah,
sets
his
and
company
a
is
lot of lighting.
GPS, Greenville Production Services.
I think I heard a rumor about a rental place coming up here.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Nice.
So, like, I guess narrative specifically, like, as camera crew, what do you think is, or your wish list or your miracle, like, crew member you wish you had more of? Like, to make your job on narrative specifically, camera, like, what do you think is the one crew member that you never have you wish you had, like, locally? I know that's kind of a loaded question, but.
I have it. Operator.
Yeah.
I'm getting to the point now. It's a lot sooner than I thought, but my back hurts. I want an operator so I can really focus on the frame. You know, I can be a much better DP if I don't really have 13 pounds hanging from me all day. I think, you know, that's gonna be, you know, on few and far between sets, but that's who I wish I would. So you don't really have to DP. You know, you can just be a really great operator, like I said earlier. It's like, I want to be a technician at the camera, essentially, and you can get really far with that.
For
I
me-
never have a focus puller.
Yeah.
But whenever you do it for me, I was like, oh my God, this is so nice. like,
Good. I'm
yeah,
glad.
it's really nice.
I was gonna say the same thing because I usually am focus pullers.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about renting the camera package versus like investing, buying like your own camera?
I have hot heat about this one.
Or leasing.
Yeah. It's tough.
Man, I just recently got a C70 just because I've enjoyed using it. But before that, I haven't owned my own camera for probably 5 years, and I would just rent per job. But that's just me personally. There's just so many different kind of cameras for different kinds of needs. Like one tool could be great for this job, and another tool
Yeah.
could be great for this job. It really just depends on the kind of shoot it is. Like I don't want to hang, you know, an Arri from a gimbal on a car crane or something like that. I'd rather just hang out the window with the gimbal and a lower end camera that still looks great. Like probably don't have the budget for that. It just depends. So me personally, I don't mind renting them if the budget's there, and they're usually not that expensive. But some cameras are getting so good and cheap that it's not, you know, it's not as much as like it used to be. It used to be like $10,000-$20,000. But I got my C70, which is badass for the small stuff that I like to do, and that was like $5,000.
Yeah.
And in like 1 or 2 jobs, the right ones can just pay for that. You know.
You feel really passionate. So you should
Oh,
go.
I feel like I have a back of the room. Like you need to have a back of the room camera. That's what I call it. A camera that can get stuff done. If you know someone in your close circle that doesn't have huge budgets, like if I want to shoot spec, like I'm still an artist, still a creator. I want to have a camera, but I can't afford an RE or anything like that. So I chose the Pocket 6K. It's got a great image. Costs what, $2,000? Incredible camera, and I don't think I'll ever sell it. I don't really want to sell. I don't want a camera. I want to shoot what the job needs. And I think that I will say I kind of get it, but I think it's unfortunate that in this industry, a few fellas have to like join in together and like pay a second mortgage on their house so they can invest in this piece of carbon that is going to get them more jobs. You know, it's kind of sucks. I hate that. You know, the client shouldn't care about red or RE. They should care about good product. That's just my 2 cents.
It's hard. I mean, if I was a bajillionaire, I would totally have a really nice camera package, because then on top of that, you also get to make more because you can charge rentals for your camera package. So it's like over time, if you have money to invest up front, I think it's like a great, awesome thing. However, that's not super accessible for most people. You know how people go on like Zillow and they'll look up really expensive houses for fun? I do that with camera packages a lot, and I'm like, maybe I have $100,000 to drop today, and it's like I don't. So the reality is, if the project is going to require something that's bigger, right now I'll rent. Financially, if it's smarter, maybe not. It's kind of like renting. Again, I guess homes are a good illustration maybe, but it's kind of the same thing where you are going to be throwing away what could be money pocketed, but it's really only going to make sense if you have that to front to begin with.
Do you have your own like personal camera?
I
too?
shoot on the Pocket mostly,
Yeah.
and then that's the one I own. So yeah.
Yes. So kind of all
Yeah.
the same. We all have our like camera that we use, but we didn't spend $1 bajillion on it. And then we'll rent as well for
Yeah.
the
How
bigger
do
stuff.
you prepare, like, if you go on a project with like a higher end camera that you're not 100% comfortable with?
It's a good question.
Well, all cameras are kind of the same at some point. You know what I mean? They as long as you just know the basics of cameras, then it's just like figuring out where the buttons are and stuff. And that's just playing around with it a few days beforehand and watching a bunch
Yeah.
of tutorials and stuff like that. But no, once you get your hands on a few different cameras, you realize they all kind of do similar things. You just got to find the buttons. Do what?
A workshop.
Yeah, sure.
I was gonna say that too. If you're renting a camera and you've never used it before, like binge watch YouTube, but then also get a couple of days with it extra on the rental if you can, just if it's your first time, because it's like you're gonna want to practice building it. You're gonna want to feel comfortable with it before you're on set. That would be really stressful if you had never like touched it before and then had to operate it on set.
Would you, if a client asked you to shoot on a camera you hadn't shot on, would you do that?
Well, Chris is just laughing at me because that kind of happened to me one time and it was really stressful. So I wouldn't recommend it, but if it's like if it's in the Red family, maybe. Like, I think I would. Like, if it is like a version of, well, actually, yes, I definitely would, because I feel like Reds are typically the same across
That's
the
true.
board.
Yeah,
So it's
if you
like
could-
I've worked with a camera
Right.
or like even like if I hadn't worked on a G2 like an Ursa before, but I had worked on a Pocket, I would be like, okay, I can figure this out. But if like this one shoot I was on, it was, I don't know if y'all know the Kinfinity camera. It's like very, very
I've never
niche
heard of it.
camera. Yeah, they have about 3 videos on YouTube, and it was with a crew from the UK who had come in, and I was ACing for them. And I was like, I literally can't even like YouTube binge this camera because I can't find anything that's actually telling me how to put it together. So I got on set and was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But so that was really fun. So I wouldn't recommend that.
Monica's a really great camera operator, and all of a sudden she has no confidence because she doesn't really know the camera.
Yeah.
You know, that sucks. You know, you should shoot on something that you just really know. Like, you just want to go in like, not unless you want to like, hey, I'm doing this as a personal goal. I want to shoot on higher end cameras. That's all well and good. There's a difference in a Pocket and the Ursa, even there. But just do what you're comfortable with. Like I've always said, I've always been the person who couldn't afford that, you know, those higher end stuff. So just max out what you have, make it look as good as you possibly can. And if you really need to, because this thing shoots in 1080 and you have to have 4K, then you bump up, you know, but you should be maximizing what you got.
I talked to a couple of rental houses and they said we only carry maybe 2 or 3 cameras because they just don't, it's not worth it for them. They're mostly renting out their lenses and other stuff like that. But
Yeah.
if you are buying a big $40,000 camera, you're spending at least another $20,000 on kitting it out on stuff
Yeah.
like that. So $5,000 camera max for ownership is kind of like where I'm at.
Yeah. You
Um,
invest in lenses
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
those can be used across the board.
And they have a long life too.
Yeah.
They hold
Camera
value.
bodies just change like computers. You know what I mean? They just keep getting better and, you know, different features and stuff.
Kind of a follow-up to what Chad asked about, like, what jobs within the camera department do you want to see more of? Like, I've been practicing a lot of focus pulling, and I heard briefly you guys mention something about that. Is that like a particular job that you guys need more people doing?
This would be the last question for you.
Oh, okay.
Is it worth kind of like developing that skill if you're interested
Yeah,
in becoming
I'd say
a
so.
DP down the road?
Yeah, 100%. I would say so. I mean, you'd be like a first AC, right? And then so you'd be really good at. I mean, I haven't worked on a big giant feature before, but I mean, I've heard that you can have just a focus puller and then also
Yeah.
an AC, like first
Yeah.
AC. You know what I mean? That can be like its own thing. So, but around here, you'd probably be a first AC, but you'd be a focus pulling as well.
I think in a market like Greenville, like I said, because I do a good bit of first acing, but in a market like Greenville, being willing to like obviously wear a couple of different hats, because I don't know that it would make sense unless you're willing to like travel or like you get really well connected, because I think in Charlotte it might be a little bit of a different story, and I know people who strictly AC, but I'm like, I think it's going to be a little bit harder if you're only wanting to AC in Greenville. Like maybe be willing to operate or like second AC or just again wear a couple of different hats, but yeah, I think it's definitely a needed
And you
role.
can be like just a gimbal operator as well. You're just a person that has the steady rig.
As long as you have a main goal of like, I want to get really good at ACing, but it's really to be like a good DP. We'll just, be a good DP first and try to go after that and try to be a good AC for DPs that are better than you. Maybe say, hey, can I practice on, a thing that you have that's like a low impact, low scale, not a lot of consequences. Like, anything that you could offer. If you think you're good, offer it for free for a little bit. I guarantee you won't be free for a while. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
And if you are, then start saying no.
Yep. Start saying no.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. No, I only do free work if it's something that I would already do myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. That's great. You guys can keep asking questions later, but we're going to cut the video here. Thank you guys